All right, indirect objects and indirect object pronouns. Okay, we have these in English and we have them in Spanish, and they're pretty similar in both languages. So we have learned the last couple weeks, we've learned about direct objects. We've learned that the direct object in a sentence receives the verb. Okay, so I bought a shirt. What received the verb of being bought? The shirt. Okay, that's the direct object that received the verb. So the indirect object receives the direct object. So I bought a shirt for her. A shirt would be our direct object. For her would be our indirect object. Okay? So the indirect object usually tells us to whom or for whom the action of the verb is performed. So again, whereas the direct object usually answers the question of what, the indirect object answers to who or for who. Okay, so in this example, Anna gives the book to Juan. We have our subject, Anna. She's the person doing the verb. She's the one doing the giving. Then we have the direct object. What is being given? The book. Okay, and then to whom or for whom? Well, to Juan. So Juan is our indirect object. Okay, Anna gives the book to Juan. Juan is our indirect object. In English, we can switch the order of the indirect and direct object. So we can also say Anna gives Juan the book. I think we probably say it that way a little bit more. But it looks pretty similar in Spanish. So we can also replace the indirect object, Juan, with the correct indirect object pronoun, which would be him. So if we know that him is referring to Juan, we can just say him, right? Anna gives him the book, or Anna gives the book to him. Okay? So another example in English, we gave the dog to Derek. Right? If we wanted to use a pronoun instead of Derek, we could say we gave the dog to him. Okay. So this is what that looks like in Español. Okay, these are indirect objects. So if we want to say to me or for me, we'd say a mí. To you, a ti. Or if it's formal, we'd say a usted. Let's see, a él, to him or for him. A ella, to her, for her. To us or for us would be a nosotros. To you all. To you, if you is plural, we would say a vosotros. Okay. Or if we're not in Spain, which most of the time we're not going to be, we'd say a ustedes. And then finally we have to them or for them. A ellos or ellas. So in the chat, let me know what you think. What might sound like the best one of these to use? So, le regalamos el perro a Derek. If we wanted to replace that. Le regalamos el perro a... Okay, good, Nico. So give it a shot. What do you think? We want to say to him in Español. A... él. So we could say we gave the dog to Derek. Le regalamos el perro a Derek. Or we could say we gave the dog to him. Le regalamos el perro a él. So we're going to do this one together too. Let's underline the indirect object in each sentence below. So in the chat, if I say, ¿Quién tiene el libro para Juan? Who has the book for Juan? What do we think is the indirect object? The indirect object, ¿Quién tiene el libro para Juan? Who has the book for Juan? So the indirect object. So this is going to answer to who or for who. Who has the book for Juan? ¿Quién tiene el libro para Juan? So remember, previously, before we were learning the direct object. The direct object would be the book. That is what's being given. Now we're looking for the indirect object. So this is, okay, we know the direct object is the book. Who is receiving the book? Yeah. Good. So Juan. Juan is going to be our indirect object. So we have the direct object, el libro, and the indirect object, Juan. Okay? Luisa no compra las plumas para mí. Luisa doesn't buy the pens for me. Who is the indirect object? The indirect object. What do we think? Good. So again, this answers to whom or for whom. Luisa doesn't buy the pens for me. So if we're looking for our direct object, that would be the pens, right? Las plumas. She doesn't buy the pens for me. So the indirect object is going to be me. Para mí, for me. She doesn't buy the pens for me. I am the indirect object. All right, yo escribo la carta a mis amigos. I write the card to my friends. Okay, I am the subject here. I'm the one doing the verb. I'm writing. What am I writing? That's the direct object, the card. What's the indirect object? This answers to who or for who. Okay. A mis amigos, to my friends. I write the letter to my friends. So, mis amigos, my friends, is going to be the indirect object. Okay. If our direct object is the card, remember our indirect object receives the direct object. Who's receiving the card? My friends. Okay, two more. Ellos leen el libro a los muchachos. So they read the book to the guys. Ellos is our subject. They're the ones doing the verb. They're the ones reading. Ellos leen. What do they read? El libro, the book. A los muchachos, to the guys. What is our indirect object? Okay, a los muchachos. So los muchachos is our indirect object. That answers to whom or for whom. And the last one. Nosotros lavamos la ropa para ustedes. We wash the clothes for you. Okay, so we have our conjugated verb. Remember, we were doing that a couple weeks ago. So if our verb is lavar, to wash, nosotros lavamos. What did we wash? What's our direct object? La ropa. Okay, and who did we do that for? For you all. Para ustedes. So our indirect object is going to be ustedes. So in Spanish, this is one way that it's a little bit different than English. So in English, we can say to him instead of to Derek, right? We can shorten it that way. We can shorten it even more in Spanish. We can use indirect object pronouns. So these are going to be me, te, le, nos, os, les. Okay? So before when we were looking at like a mí, so to me or for me, a ti, to you or for you, these can replace that. Okay, so we're gonna look at what that would look like. So again, this is the same stuff, just in the chart that we looked at before. Me, te, le, nos, os, les. Okay. So if we want to say, él lanza la pelota a ella. So he throws the ball to them. We can actually take out a ellas and we can replace it with les. Él les lanza la pelota. So we know that les is referring to a ellas. So I want you to take a second and really look at this chart. If we're saying that he threw the ball to them, we can say él lanza la pelota a ellas, or we can take out a ellas and just put in the pronoun les. Él les lanza la pelota. Okay. Ellos dan juguetes al gato. So they give toys to the cat. So we can say al gato. If it's a boy cat, we could say a él, or a girl cat, a ella, right? Or we can take that out and replace it with the pronoun le. Ellos le dan juguetes. Ellos le dan juguetes. Okay, same idea. Now we're just talking about Maya instead of the cat. Marco da las flores a Maya. So Marco gives flowers to Maya. Again, we can say a Maya or a ella, to her, to Maya. Or we can take out a Maya or a ella, whichever one, and replace it with the pronoun le. So let's look at these real quick. Hold on, what's this next one? Let's do this one instead because I put the chart in here. Okay, so we need to figure out what would go right here in this blank space. This is the indirect object that we're replacing. So, ¿quién tiene el libro para Juan? Who has the book for Juan? In the chat, I want to see people participating here. Which direct object pronoun, look at this chart, use this chart to help you. Either me, te, le, nos, os, or les. Which one would we use to replace para Juan? What do you think? Just give it a shot. Let me see. This is going to be your participation points for today. So look at the chart. It's either going to be me, te, le, nos, os, or les. Good. Okay. So it would be le. We could say, ¿quién le tiene el libro? ¿Quién le tiene el libro? Okay. So we would replace para Juan with le. Again, we could say a él, all right, for him, or we could just take that out and put in the pronoun. Makes it much shorter, much more concise. ¿Quién le tiene el libro? What about number 2? Luisa no compra las plumas para mí. So if we want to take out para mí and just put in a pronoun, which one would we use for para mí? Look at that pink chart. Use that to help you. Good, Nico. Alondra. Okay, we would say me. Luisa no me compra las plumas. She does not buy the pens for me. All right. Yo escribo la carta a mis amigos. Which one might we use? Which pronoun? Me, te, le, nos, os, les would we use to replace a mis amigos? Again, me, te, le, nos, os, les. Good. Yeah. Yo les escribo la carta. We replace a mis amigos with les. All right. Ellos leen el libro a nosotros. They read the book to us. What indirect object pronoun, me, te, le, nos, os, or les, would we use to replace a nosotros? Good, Renee. Good job, princess. Yeah. Ellos nos leen el libro. Ellos nos leen el libro. Okay, and finally, it'd be great if I could get her out of there. Nosotros lavamos la ropa para ti. Okay, what indirect object pronoun are we using to replace para ti, for you? Good, Alondra, good job, Nico. Princess, yeah. Okay, nosotros te lavamos la ropa. Nosotros te lavamos la ropa. That's what this would look like. We can take out whoever this is. If we know that we're talking about giving something to Juan, we can just say, ¿Quién le tiene el libro? And le represents, right, or symbolizes para Juan. Luisa no me compra las plumas. Luisa doesn't buy me the pens. Yo les escribo la carta. Okay, we know that les means to my friends. Ellos nos leen el libro. They read the book to us. We know that nos means to us, or for us. Nosotros te lavamos la ropa. We know that te is replacing para ti. Nosotros te lavamos la ropa. We wash the clothes for you. Okay, you're doing great. We're almost done. We're going to do the same thing, but with, okay, we're going to try not using the chart, and it's going to be tricky because these are new, but I just want to see how it goes, okay? So what indirect object pronoun, if you can remember, what are we going to use to replace para mí? Good job, Nico, yeah. Good job, princess, yeah. Para mí. Good, we would say me. Ellos me compran el billete. So they buy me the ticket. Again, we're not looking at our subjects. We're not looking at the person who's doing the verb. We're looking at the indirect object. We're looking at who is receiving the direct object. So if our direct object is the tickets, okay, buy the tickets for me. I am the indirect object pronoun. So we could say, ellos compran el billete para mí, or we could just say, ellos me compran el billete. Okay. What about yo busco los papeles para ti? I look for the papers for you. What would we use? Which indirect object pronoun would we use to replace para ti? Para ti. What do we think? Good job, Alondra. Para ti, Enrico. So, para ti. That's what we're replacing here. Okay. So we're looking at our indirect object. Yo te busco los papeles. Te. Te. That's what we'll replace para ti. Yo te busco los papeles. Okay. I am looking for the papers for you. Okay. Nosotros damos las camisas a ellos. Okay. We need to replace a ellos. Anyone remember what indirect object pronoun we might use for a ellos to replace that one? Good, princess. A ellos. Okay. We could say les. Les. Nosotros les damos las camisas. Nosotros les damos las camisas. Okay. Yo compro el perro para Juan. Okay, so now we need an indirect object pronoun to replace para Juan. What do we think? Para Juan. Good, princess. Para Juan. Good, Alondra. Okay. We could say le. Yo le compro el perro. Yo le compro el perro. All right. Two more. Tú preparas la cena para nosotros. So you prepare dinner for us. So we need to replace para nosotros. Para nosotros. Para nosotros. Good. Yeah. Tú nos preparas la cena. Tú nos preparas la cena. Last one. Ella busca los lentes para su abuela. So, para su abuela. She looks for the glasses for her grandma. For her grandma. Para su abuela. We need a direct object pronoun to replace su abuela. Good job, Matthias. Yeah. And Nico. So remember, su abuela is one person. Okay? So we have le. Ella le busca los lentes. Ella le busca los lentes. Good job. I really appreciate the people who are participating. Seems like you're getting it, which is awesome. So, ellas me compran el billete, right? So we can use me to replace para mí. Oh, this is supposed to say te. Sorry, let me go back and fix that. Okay, this is supposed to be te, te. Les can replace a ellos. Le can replace Juan. It can also replace su abuela. And para nosotros, tú nos preparas la cena. Para nosotros, we can replace that with nos. Okay. I believe that's it. Let me double check. Yeah, that's it. Okay, good job. Give yourselves a round of applause. That was good.